So maybe you're thinking about selling final expense, but you see all these videos and content and Facebook posts about how great it is to sell over the phone. Maybe you see content posts, etc., on how great it is to sell face-to-face, and what you don't know what to do. There's too many options. Hi, my name is David Duford, where I recruit, and train insurance agents across the nation to become top producers in final expense, Medicare Advantage, and annuities. So the purpose of this video is to really have a good discussion with you on what the differences are between selling face-to-face final expense versus final expense sold over the phone, and to give you some stuff to think about to determine which is going to be best ultimately for you. So what we're going to do first of all is start from the advantages of selling final expense over the phone. So let's jump right into it. So probably the biggest advantage is that you are working from home. Yes, you get to sit in your office. You don't even need to put pants on in the morning, possibly a shirt. But all you need is your headphones and a dialer and a pleasant voice and start calling your leads. So you don't have to be grinding it out on the road, going in between different homes, strangers' houses, and all that stuff. So if you're the kind of person that likes to, sit around the house and make sales and work, chances are final expense telesales would be right for you. There also is a higher possibility, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, of scalability. So what can you do over the phone that you can't do as efficiently as you would face-to-face? Well, it's conduct more sales presentations. If sales presentation is deemed unqualified or you've rebutted the person 5 times and they just won't buy, you can quickly hang the phone up and then dial the next number and start on your next sales presentation. So it's conceivable, in theory, to do more presentations sight unseen telephonically over the phone than you could if you were driving around in your car between appointments. And again, depending on where you're at, you're going to have 10, 20, 30 minutes between homes. I used to work rural Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia full-time, and let me tell you, sometimes there was some serious drive time. So doing telesales over the phone, selling final expense, you don't have to worry about that. Also, you don't have to wear a mask. You don't have to worry about pandemics. If you're watching this now, it's August-ish, and people are wearing masks wherever they go. And a lot of them are wearing them on sales calls. And there's a lot of people, maybe some of you out there, that you yourself aren't necessarily in the best shape, or you have family that you're just concerned that you don't want to get sick. So selling over the phone, you don't have to worry about the pandemic risks that are inherently top of mind for everybody right now. And the truth is, a lot of people, your prospects at least, are going to be a little more appreciative than usual to doing business over the phone. Now let's talk about some possible drawbacks. To me, I think the biggest drawback to final expense telesales is the lower closing or lower conversion ratios than what the average face-to-face agent gets. So in my experience training my final expense telesales agents and my final expense face-to-face agents, I believe the telesales sales model is not going to convert as much of your leads to sales as the face-to-face method. And why is that? Well, it's because telesales is a sales process that doesn't rely on normal human behavior. You don't get to see the person. You don't get to make eye contact, see them smile, shake their hand, sit at their, on the edge of their seat, of their couch or whatever, right? So the person who is listening to you does not have the normal capability to discern using their normal human senses that traditionally has always been the case if this person's legit or if this is some kind of scam. So a lot of people, especially in the senior market, still prefer face-to-face. It's not dead completely. It's certainly thriving, actually. And they just kind of are skeptical of phone calls, although I think that's less as it used to be. But it is definitely something that will affect the number of leads that you actually convert. So keep that in mind. You're probably not going to make as many sales as you would if you were selling over the phone than you would if you were face-to-face. You're also handcuffed to your desk. So there's this kind of mentality that, if you get to work from home, you get to sit around in your swimsuit, play with your kids, look out the window, admire how great life is, that you can never leave your house, but you get to still make money. It's not like that. It's actually still real work. And a lot of people don't understand that you literally have to take a pair of handcuffs, cuff yourself to your desk, and dial for 8-10 hours a day if you want a real stab at success in final expense telesales. So it's legit. You can't fool around selling anything, whether it's at home or over the phone. So you have to take it seriously, and there's just, for a lot of people, there's a lot of distractions at home. Like I know firsthand, I don't sell over the phone, but I run my agency out of my house. Like right now, there's screaming children you probably hear in the background, and I'm sitting here trying to do this very serious video, and they're driving me nuts, So your clients are going to hear that if you're selling over the phone, although I think it kind of adds to the humanity of it to an extent, so maybe it's not so bad. But you do have to treat it seriously because you are working from home and there are going to be distractions. And, there are, to an extent, some sunk costs that you're not going to ever convert from these leads. So the beauty of face-to-face that we'll talk about is that if you can't get Mrs. Jones to answer the phone, because some people just won't, you can roll up unannounced and barge your way in the door that way and get in front of the client without setting an appointment. And so you can convert a higher number of your leads that way. Well, with phone sales, you're not going to ever leave your house. You're going to do the sale telephonically. So you're in a position where if they don't ever pick up the phone, you can't sell them. And there's some things you can do. You can arrange text messages, emails to go out. You can call in a certain style or fashion to elicit more phone pickups. So it's not a complete dead end, but you will notice with phone reps a lower conversion rate of their total leads because some people just won't pick up. So that would be the pros and cons of telesales. We're going to compare that to face-to-face after we talk about the pros and cons of face-to-face right now. So what's the biggest advantage of face-to-face? I think it comes down to that face-to-face just has a higher conversion ratio. Think about it. So when you're selling over the phone, you can only sell people who actually pick the phone up. Not everybody that does pick the phone up is going to be comfortable with the sales process. You also don't get as much access to information about the client, like what their existing life insurance policy is. At least most agents in final expense aren't going to be able to review the policy as effortlessly or as easily. There might be more resistance for all the same reasons. It's a telephonic sale, not face-to-face. None of that's a problem with face-to-face, not nearly to the same extent. So when we sell face-to-face, we can take leads and convert and squeeze more business out of them than we would over the phone. Again, just like I mentioned, it's easier to make replacements face-to-face than over the phone because we can look and lay eyes on their actual policy. We can review it. We can show them what they have. We can show them the weaknesses, if there are any at all, and then offer up an opportunity to trade out that plan and to upgrade to a better plan like what we offer. Many times, again, you get to go door knock people that never picked up the phone to begin with. So you can talk to those people, and there's a lot of them that'll let you in. They just don't pick up the phone, but they're very interested in buying, and the first person who gets in wins. And to some extent, there's more carriers with face-to-face than over the phone. So if you're in a situation where you need a price buster, for example, there's really good carriers that do that, like Life Shield or Standard Life and Casualty, that if they're available in your state, maybe that would get you the replacement, whereas the other carriers, if you only do telephone sales, wouldn't. Not always the case, but again, this contributes a little bit to the overall higher conversion ratios that a face-to-face sale offers that phone sales won't. Now, I said this earlier about telesales, but I do think this about face-to-face too, is that face-to-face is scalable. A lot of people who exclusively do telesales, they'll kind of make this pitch like, oh, you can't scale with face-to-face. You got to beat the streets. You got to run the backcountry roads, and you're going to burn your car up and blah, 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 blah. Well, I know examples after example of people selling face-to-face that are doing 30, 40, even more appointments a week. And they just know how to stack their appointments. They know how to arrange their schedule. And to me, a great agent, if they want to have success full-time, needs to be completing 15 appointments a week. That's my standard of success. So when you can triple that in some cases, I think that's a good example of what scalability really looks like. So for me, face-to-face is scalable. You just need a lot of leads, and you need to run a lot of appointments, and you can definitely do that with face-to-face. I also think that face-to-face sales is simpler to learn. Again, I've trained agents face-to-face. I've trained successful agents over the phone. And it's really interesting. There is a difference in how the material is learned. And the face-to-face, the process face-to-face, you can cut corners a lot easier and still make the sale, I believe, than over the phone selling final expense, telesales. The telesales agents that screw up and don't get the deal where they should have, typically revolve around what I believe is an effective opening script. They build trust, they build authority. They do a really good job of opening the sale, which leads to an easier time closing it. Whereas in face-to-face, you don't have to worry too much about as much about rapport. It's important, but it's not nearly as important because you see these people. They see you. They can read you. They have an instinct about you when you're running face-to-face that they can understand a little bit easier than a phone sale. So I think, again, for the average person, most people aren't used to a phone sales process. I think people will, as new agents, do better unless they have telephonic sales experience in a face-to-face environment. And I believe the success rate is much, much more selling face-to-face than over the phone. So what about some drawbacks? What's some drawbacks of face-to-face? So like I said earlier, you beat up your automobile. Okay, in my heyday, full-time selling final expense, running backcountry roads, running a bunch of appointments, 40, 50,000, maybe even 60,000 miles a year. There were times when I put 1,000 to 1,500 miles a week on my vehicle. You got to run through cars every couple of years. Now, the good news is you can write that off. There is a deduction for mileage that you can do as an agent since you're running a business. But there is a cost that you won't experience at home, right? You sit at your desk. I guess your desk wears out every once in a while, your desk chair, but the cost of replacement's a lot less than your vehicle is. Agents are. What does it say here? It possibly is less efficient. Again, it just depends. I mean, I think this is possibly an issue. It's not a full outright issue. Efficiency is something a lot of people get obsessed with unrealistically. I got to be efficient. I've got to run a streamlined appointment. I don't want to waste my valuable time. And unless somebody's running 40 or 45 appointments a week, I kind of just scoff at the concept. What's more important than efficiency? Effectiveness. I want you to actually be effective at your final expense efforts, right? What is effectiveness? Effectiveness is you actually making sales. I don't care if you're the most efficient agent on the face of the planet, but at the end of the day, if you can't make a sale, you ain't effective. You're efficiently ineffective. So for me, efficiency is a fool's errand. Let's spend time on becoming a craftsman of selling insurance. Let's get better at doing that first and maxing out your time available to sell before you worry about efficiency. So that's not too much of a drawback. Now, here's one drawback that some of you may be concerned about. The perils of seeing people face to face. Let me tell you some crazy stuff that's happened to me. I've been bitten 3 times. I almost got mauled by a pit bull. It jumped on me as I was walking into Mildred's door, and the pit bull jumped out, put its face right in my crotch, and I thought my baby-making days were over. It was horrible. I don't know how I got out of that one alive. I almost got killed by Cujo, who came out from behind some country home. I've been bitten by little yapper dogs randomly, luckily concocted no diseases. I've probably got COPD myself from all the secondhand smoke you can see floating in the air. I've seen level 5 cat ladies that literally have, cats everywhere, and you can see the hair follicles floating in the air, and they wonder why they're on 24/7-hour oxygen. I've sat on piss-soaked chairs, piss-soaked couches. I've smelled horrific smells that I could never describe to you. I've been threatened to be killed, but I closed them still. Yeah. So this is a day in the. There's way more than that. This is just this is safe for YouTube. I think it can get worse. This is just a normal walk in the day of selling face to face. I've got some great war stories. Now this is supposed to be a drawback, and I'm sitting here laughing about it. I mean, there are some pretty crazy people out there. If you run in rough spots in the city, you run in rough spots out in the country. I've seen some meth labs. I've seen some tweakers, man. There's some crazy people. I saw a head on a spike once. I closed them too. They were trying to scare the meth heads off with the head of the orc from Uruk-hai from Lord of the Rings. Crazy ass shit. So I'm losing my focus here, just remembering all these stories I've forgotten about. But yeah, I mean, look, if you're concerned for your safety, there are some places you want to think twice before you go. All right, so I mean, this stuff you don't have to worry about. If you sit on, you sit at home and you're calling and closing, they can't reach out through the phone and get you, but they can in person. So again, what do I say to that? I'm still alive. I've never carried a piece. Some people do. It's probably a good idea. I'm just a good salesperson. Just talk myself out of danger. So you better be good if you get out there. But no, in all seriousness, look for places. You can mitigate this risk. You just don't do something stupid. Think before you go in. If you feel bad about it, don't do it. Trust your instincts, really. But it is possibly a risk. So what are some takeaways here, besides my funny stories I mentioned earlier? Telesales or face-to-face? Here's the thing. A lot of people think, face-to-face is dying. Or telesales is a racket. Only the select few are good at it. It's not the case at all. The great thing about the insurance business is the sheer opportunity it provides you. There is so much opportunity in selling insurance, and that really is the problem. It's hard to choose. Should you do face-to-face sales or should you do over the phone? I don't know. And that's my answer. I don't really know. It really just depends on you. So what you need to do is an analysis. You need to catalog what you are and what's important to you and figure out, based off of your personality type, would you thrive in a face-to-face environment or would you thrive in a phone sales environment? I'll talk to agents sometimes and I ask them, are you going to do phone sales or face-to-face? And they're like, I don't know. And I'll say, if I put a gun to your head, which one would you choose? And then they choose the one that they kind of sort of have a bias with. Well, that's what I would ask you to do. You got to make a decision, and you cannot straddle and do both. I don't know a single agent that's a killer that does both face-to-face and over the phone. They do one exclusively, okay? So you have to make your mind up and then completely and entirely go all in. Burn the bridges, damn the torpedoes, and be completely committed to whatever methodology that you choose. So give it some thought. There's great reasons to sell either or. There's considerable drawbacks to selling either or. But there is definitely opportunity in both. And you just need to decide which one of them is going to be good for you. And if you'd like to sell final expense with the DeFord Insurance Group, this guy right here, you can do it. Yes, I do recruit insurance agents, believe it or not. I'm just not some talking head on YouTube. So what do you need to do to learn more about selling insurance, final expense, in fact, selling over the phone or face-to-face with El Jefe here? It's very simple. Go to davidduford.com. Click the link below in the video. That will take you to my website. You'll see it plastered everywhere. Become an agent. Join the agency. Blah, 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 blah. You can't miss it. Look for it. You'll see it. I make sure you do. Click that button. Send me a message, and I will send you more information on what steps you need to do in order to do that. Y'all got questions about final expense? Ask them. Leave them in the comments below. If you got questions, concerns about telesales or face-to-face, or possibly you got some harebrained stories like I do, feel free to share those too. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. Bye.